One of the problems with recruiting for investment banking is not the knowledge or skills you acquire, but the access to talk with real investment bankers to put your best foot forward. Our sponsor, WSO Academy, can provide those connections with 60 head mentors who are finance professionals at top firms like Goldman, Centerview, and JP Morgan. Imagine being able to get on the phone within 24 hours with one of the Academy's 1,300 mentors right before a critical interview. Get on the waitlist for WSO Academy today by clicking the link in the show notes or by visiting wallstreetoasis.com/academy. All right. Welcome to Investment Banking Insights. My name is Alex Mason, and I'm your host. This is the show where we're looking at the technical and non-technical aspects of the investment banking recruiting process to help you and myself understand what the heck is going on here with investment banking. That's really what we're doing, because there's so much to understand with this process, especially if you don't come from a finance background. And so I am here to walk with you through this journey, break everything down, record it, speak it out loud so that you can understand along with me as you're going through your recruiting and interview process. So what have we talked about so far? We've talked about industries. We've talked about the overall recruiting process. We've talked about the 4 inevitable questions you're going to get as part of your recruiting. And I am still very much working on my answers to these questions right now, but I have some foundation of what to look for. So we've talked a little bit about, tell me about yourself. Who are you? What is your pitch? What is your overall spiel? And then we talked about why investment banking. We've talked about why do you want to work here specifically. And now I want to talk to you about the 4th question, why do you want to work in this group? Because many banks, they don't just recruit in general for their banks. They want to hire associates in specific groups. So you need to be able to answer this question. Why do you want to work here in this group? Not just in this industry, not just at this firm, but in this group. So notice how we're getting more and more specific here with these questions. And remember, we talked about an overview of the product groups and industry groups a few episodes ago. So as a quick refresher, you have industry groups where you're focused on a particular sector of the economy. So you have TMT, which stands for technology, media, and telecom, those kinds of companies. You have industrials, you have technology, you have consumer and retail, you have healthcare. These are all different aspects that you could focus on as an investment banker. And then you also have product groups. So let's say you want to focus on leveraged finance, or you want to focus on, let's see, another one, maybe it's equity capital markets. So think about your goals and your backstory. And I keep coming back to this with these questions because it's so relevant for all of these answers. I mean, you really need to answer these questions based on who you are, where you've come from, and where you want to go. It just keeps coming back to this, I'm noticing. So let's give an example. You might have always, for example, admired certain types of companies for certain reasons, just in the normal course of your life, in your day-to-day existence. Maybe you're interested in TMT because you've always had this great appreciation for how media has transformed the world. Hint, hint, if you're a podcaster, for example. Or maybe you're interested in industrials because you have an engineering background and you just love seeing how transportation and machine-related businesses function, like airlines or train companies or trucking companies, etc. So think about what really resonates with you. Maybe you are obsessed with Netflix and you want to understand how those kinds of businesses end up acquiring other media businesses and that kind of a thing. So that may be more of a media play for you. I keep coming to this example. You can tell that I really like media. But you may also be interested. Here's another example. Let's say you could collect shoes. You're a sneakerhead. And every time a limited edition Nike Air Jordan comes out, or LeBron James or whatever, you're there, you're buying those sneakers. and maybe you resell them, maybe you just collect them, but you're just really obsessed with shoes. Maybe you're interested in consumer and retail because apparel is a passion for you. And so that may be an area of the banking universe that you want to cover, because how cool would it be if you got to talk to the CEO of Nike, the CEO of Adidas, the CFO of Puma, let's say? So think about what you want to do, and that will come across in your interview. And again, this is something I'm working on. I'm trying to figure out which areas I'm drawn more to, because that's a question that I know I'm going to be asked. And so think about what you appreciate in the business world and why you appreciate them. And when it comes to this, think also about recent deals. What's going on in your niche or niche? I never know how to say that word. Niche. Think about what's going on. So if you're following industrial companies, for example, let's get even narrower. Let's say within industrials, you want to focus on aerospace and defense. So what are aerospace companies doing right now? Are they consolidating? Are they buying each other? Are they spinning each other off? Are they divesting certain lines of business? What are the highest growth lines of business within that segment of the economy? Those are things that you want to know, because when it gets brought up and you say, yes, I'm really passionate about such and such group because of these reasons, they're going to test you on that and say, okay, well, what are you following in that sector? Why do you believe these trends are happening? What's your take on it? Make sure that you always have a take. So whatever you're specifically intrigued about, dive into a little bit, take some notes, read the Wall Street Journal, read Barron's. Even just looking at normal financial news can give you so much insight into a specific segment of the market that's trending at a particular point in time. So that's something that I've started doing. Every morning, I just do a basic search online to see what's going on in the financial world. And sometimes things catch my eye and I take note of them. And those are things that I can bring up in regular conversations or coffee chats or in more formal interviews. So that's how you can approach that question. Why do you want to work in this group? And then if you're focused on product groups, think about what the fundamental nature of that product is and why it's a great fit. For example, maybe you're focused on equity capital markets because you are an investor in stocks yourself and you just appreciate how liquidity via equity can help a business flourish. Maybe you can tell that story. Or maybe you're into leveraged finance because you've seen examples of okay businesses that have been turned around and turned into great businesses. So those are just some things you can think about, but think about the specific function that you would be doing in that group and tailor your story around that function. So that's how I would think about it from the product perspective. So those are a couple of things that you can think about for this fourth inevitable question. Why do you want to work in this group? Now, some banks will be more general and they have generalist training programs. So you may not need to be as concerned with this question for those types of roles, but still something important to think about, because you are going to be working with companies that fit into some sector of the economy. So you want to have some knowledge of that. Now, some other common questions, you may get these kind of like maybe different types of questions that'll just test your knowledge that aren't specific investment banking technical questions, but more so general market related questions. For example, tell me what the yield is on the 10-year treasury. Now, if you don't know what a 10-year treasury is, you probably want to know that. Now, just to help you out with that, a treasury note, it's a type of bonds that you can buy that the US government issues, and it's issued in various increments based on duration. So a 2-year, there's a 10-year, there's a 30-year. And that means if you hold that bonds for that amount of time, you'll get a certain amount of interest guaranteed. It's a fixed rate. So if you hold the 30-year treasury bond from the US government and it's yielding 5%, then over that 30 years, you'll get that interest over time. And the value of that bond can fluctuate. But anyway, I'm getting too into the weeds. You can tell I get excited about this stuff. But that's just one question you might get. What is the current yield? Well, the only way you're going to know that is by reading the Wall Street Journal, looking at CNBC, making sure you understand what Yahoo Finance is saying about the price of the 10-year treasury. You might also be asked what the prices are of other very highly followed indices or commodities, such as what is the price of gold or oil, or where's the Nasdaq at right now, or where's the S&P 500 at right now. These are things that you'll just pick up naturally over time based on reading financial media. So those are the major things that you should think about in terms of just the more generic questions that are probably going to apply to you for the majority of banks that you end up talking to. Is who are you? Why investment banking? Why this investment bank? And why this group? Understand those questions inside and out, understand your answers, practice them verbally, and make sure you know yourself. I keep saying this again and again, but I think it's important. Know yourself, what you're trying to achieve, and that'll help you in your answers. So, yeah, good luck with this part of the process. We've talked a lot about behaviorals for the last several episodes, and I'm really excited now because guess what's next? We're going to get into the nitty gritty technical stuff. Yes, we are going to talk about accounting. And don't worry, I never took an accounting class in my life. So I'm going to be explaining it to you in plain language based on my experience. And so hopefully that makes you understand understand these concepts very well, as opposed to talking about it in a super academic practitioner sense. So we're going to be talking about accounting fundamentals next, and that's going to be the next series of episodes. We're going to be going through what accounting deals with, what does it not deal with, what are some basic terms and things that you and I need to know before we get to the nitty gritty, more advanced technical questions. Because if we don't understand the basics, how can we hope to understand the advanced stuff, right? So that's what I'm going to be doing with you next, is walking with you through accounting basics. So I'll see you next time on Investment Banking Insights. This is Alex signing off. Take care.